you're up. You don't need to do what we need to fucking do. You don't need to do this.
What happened to free speech?
I deeply value the contributions that Fred employees make every day to keep America.
Man, that was nuts. That was at a town hall in North Carolina this week. I mean, I tell you what, folks, the Republicans are trying to say us that's all paid people. It's Democrat. No, those are constituents. And they're angry. And that gentleman was a veteran, claimed to be a veteran. He was wearing veteran gear, being dragged out of there because he was demanding questions from his elected representative of why he was allowing cuts to VA, why he was going to allow 83,000 announced firings from VA. Everything else, all the lies and lack of answers we're getting from the Republicans is just blowing up right now. And that's not the only way it's blowing up right now. So I am Fred Wellman, host of On the Line with VoteVets. Welcome to the show. We're just getting started live. We just want to kind of do this week. There's just so much going on. I mean, I know you guys feel the same way. You see it the way we do. I love the title JJ came up with, which is a year and a week. I mean, that's the way this week felt. I mean, every day we woke up to a new breaking news event, a new thing that happened. We ended last week on the breaking news that Doug Collins intends to fire 83,000 VA employees. He announced it in a video and then went around accusing everybody of lying about it. I'm not going to show the video because it's so disgusting. But Doug Collins sat down with Patricia Kime of military.com, one of the most respected reporters in the veterans beat, and accused her of scaring his employees because she wrote one sentence that there was a rumor going around about something. This is the guy who stood on video and said, we're going to fire 83,000 of you. We don't know who it's going to be. We don't know when it's going to be. But anyway, carry on. Okay. So it's just the ridiculousness of what's going on is crazy. But what you saw with that veteran losing his stuff at that town hall isn't alone. Today was amazing. Today is obviously Friday, February. If you've been actually keeping track, there have been there was protests scheduled across the country. In DC, of course, there's one. There was, capitals across country. Victoria, you're saying there, a rural VA clinic. I just got a picture from a friend in Madison, Wisconsin. These pictures that JJ is going to show you as I talk were all over the country. Capitals in Virginia, capital of Pennsylvania, Harrisburg. Across the country, civilians and veterans came out to protest the cuts to the VA, to show veterans VA employees that we care about you, that we want you to be secure in your jobs. The stories we're hearing out of the VA, I heard a story this week. It's incredible that since they forced them to all work in offices now, that even mental health clinicians who still do telehealth counseling are doing those in cubicle farms, open cubicle farms, not private offices. So we have veterans calling in their mental health counselor who's being forced to work in an open cubicle. It's just insanity. But veterans are standing up. You see these incredible signs, people taking action. I, myself, and VoteVets, we were sponsors today for one of the protests right here in St. Louis, Missouri. I think I did a pan of the crowd as I was walking. The plan was to have hopefully maybe 200 people show up at the VA hospital in St. Louis. That was an underestimate. It ended up being around 500 people. And you can see in this video, just dozens and dozens and dozens of people as far as acting. This covered 2 blocks of Grand Avenue. The fence you see on your left is the fence outside John Cochran VA Medical Center. It was so gratifying. I was one of the organizers, so I was walking around. We had VA employees coming out to say hi to us and thank us for supporting them. This was a very positive march. Of course, we also kind of beat up some folks. You see an older gentleman. He's a Korea veteran, I believe he told us. You see, it's just incredible. It was an amazing day, and to see all these folks, not all of them veterans, most of them overwhelmingly not veterans. They're civilians, all from over Missouri, from Illinois. They brought signs, as you can see, and this was just one. We got one of our brothers from VoteVets was there. It was an amazing. You could see across the street. No one blocked. It was funny. Some lady came out and accused us of blocking the streets from ambulances. Like, sorry, man, we have the police here. They're making sure we don't block any streets. But nice try. It was peaceful. It was fun. It was friendly. It was a great event. I even had a chance to speak to one of the organizers. Like I said, I was one of the organizers, but this wonderful woman named Amber, she's one of the locals. She kind of arranged this whole thing. Why don't we cue up that interview I did with her? It's on the street as fire engines are going by, so bear with us.
This is the John Cochran VA Medical Center in back of me. Want to talk to one of the organizers. Introduce yourself, Amber.
Hi, my name is Amber Binge, and I live in the city of St. Louis.
So why'd you put this together, Amber?
Well, I'm a community organizer, and there has just been this underground emotion that wants to be out here and supporting the people that they love. So the city of St. Louis showed out for the veterans, the healthcare workers, and those that have been experiencing layoffs and the cuts.
Yeah, and did you expect 500 people? I mean,
honestly, when I woke up this morning, I was like, man, if 100 show up,
exactly.
This is a Good Friday.
Right? And we had Common Defense showed up, VoteVets showed up,
yeah.
Indivisible was here, St. Louis County Dems showed up. Who else? I mean, we had a lot of groups here, right?
A lot of conversations for political change.
Wow.
I think STL 350, which is an environmental group.
Wow.
And then I saw some of the healthcare workers standing out and asking what we were doing, and they were just kind of like, hey, what are you doing out here? And we said, we're here for you. And then they got emotional.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I had two nurses start almost crying when we know what you're going through inside that building, and we appreciate you. We also had American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, the union was here. I mean,
AFGE was
easily,
here.
And for those, I'll show clips during the show tonight, but both sides of the street were covered with people.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. What a turnout.
It was incredible.
On a Friday afternoon in St. Louis.
And the honks and the people pulling over and waving outside of their windows and thanking us. It's from the city workers, to the police officers, to the Metrolink bus drivers. It was everyone, and this is what community looks like.
Yep.
This is what democracy looks like, and this is what humanity looks like. We look out for one another, like our veterans looked out for us.
Yep.
We're looking out for our veterans now.
Well, we appreciate it. So I just want to say thanks. We're throwing this on the show. Appreciate it. And this is amazing. And I know a lot of veterans were thanking us. A ton of veterans showed up, were thanking me. So thanks for.
That was great. Amber's amazing. I mean, they pulled this thing off in a week, brought all these hundreds of people together. And honestly, you could barely talk most of the time that people were there with people honking the horns as they went through. It was really inspiring. It really, we're in a dark moment. We all know, as Lola has posted on Facebook. Right now the Democrats are fighting in Washington, trying to, the CR. I'm not even gonna get into it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The CR has so much bad stuff in it for veterans. It's disgusting. I was glad to see the House vote against it. We're waiting now to see what happens in the Senate. But the news this week, there's just so much bad news. So I kind of want to start with the good news, which is people are waking up, y'all. And this is how you do it. So find your local groups. Almost all of these were organized locally, okay, and it was all about getting out there, and this was a positive one. At one point, for reasons I can't explain, a gentleman came out. He said he was an Army veteran like me. Started screaming at some of our people that were there, saying, "You shitty Democrat." It was just bad. And I was talking to a reporter. I said, "Dude, you gotta stop." And he's like, "Are you a veteran?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." He goes, He goes, "What did Biden do for you?" I'm like, "Dude, the PACT Act. Go inside and ask about the PACT Act, okay?" And he ran off. And some of the protesters, started yelling shame. He said, "No, we're not doing that." Everybody stopped. We were there, the people in St. Louis that were there to support the VA employees and support the veterans. And look, we may not agree with those guys, but they're going to learn when their benefits get cut. So it was an exciting day. I was glad to be part of it. So we're going to talk this week. We're going to do the news. Okay. I'm going to tell you what's happened this week. I think there's a couple stories that you probably don't know about or don't know a lot about. And we're going to show you kind of how this game is being played by the folks within the administration, the way they're openly lying about things and attacking us. And I'll show you a little bit of that. Let's start off. We're going to start talking VA and veteran stuff. This is an interview. This is actually from last week, I believe, of Jake Tapper interviewing. This is Secretary of VA, Doug Collins. And this is the way he's handling a question.
Let me just clear the record on the veteran crisis line responders. None of them, period. None of them were fired. Inside the veteran crisis line, we had staff members who did not answer the phone, who were not front facing to the veteran, who were in the first line let go. But when we found that out, which by the way, any employee who's been let go, what it meant was their supervisor did not put in an exemption, because we had many exemptions when it first came to light that they may be fired, where they could ask for an exemption. So their supervisor saw fit that their job wasn't forward facing or mission critical and did not put in an exemption for them to be hired. But in that crisis line issue, we hired those back simply because we did not even want to give the appearance that somebody in the veteran crisis line basically a senator who would take the wrong information and try and use it against us.
Doug, you're full of shit. Okay? That's Senator Tammy Duckworth. And it was her constituents that were laid off. And we spoke to them here at VoteVets as well. And yes, it was crisis action line workers who were fired. And he's lying through his teeth. And what's really disgusting about the way Doug Collins is handling all of this is the way he lies so smoothly, smearing the actual. Look, you have to understand, this is the guy in charge of the second largest department in the United States government. He is ostensibly the leader of these incredible healthcare providers, mental health care providers, administrators, people who schedule veterans appointments, people who make sure we get VA home loans, people who make sure you get your GI Bill payments, hundreds of thousands of employees, and he smears them in every damn breath. The people who are fired, well, you know, their supervisors didn't think they were doing good work. Well, Doug, that's not quite how it works. So I'm going to show you another lie. We're going to talk about how that got disproven this week, by the way, thanks to the hard work of our sister organization, the Vet Voice Foundation, who participated in the one. But first of all, here's something that happened today. Today, this Facebook post, JJ, if you can bring it up, went up on the VA's official Facebook page. And what they said in this Facebook post is that, you know, as government union, this is incredible. This is the official Facebook page of the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. As government union bosses, the legacy media, and some in Congress have been spreading false rumors of healthcare and benefit cuts at VA, we've opened multiple brand new clinics that will serve tens of thousands of veterans. Don't believe the fake news. If you look, you probably can't see them because of the screen, but Mosley Clinic, there's a Fredericksburg Clinic, Fredericksburg, Virginia, okay? I used to live in Fredericksburg. Thank you, John. Thanks, JJ, for making that. So Aurora, Colorado, Ridgewood, New York, Fredericksburg, Virginia, and Hamilton, Vermont. Those are brand new clinics that opened since January 20th. Okay, do you honestly want us to think, this is what they want you to think. They want you to think they opened those clinics, that they built those effing clinics. No, those broke ground, all four of those clinics broke ground in 2022 under President Joe Biden. Okay. And they were finally finished. But were they finished? Because here's the thing, Doug, we know the truth because we all see the thing about veterans. That's something we say, guys. You guys will appreciate this. Any of you veterans on here, we talk to each other. And the people who work at the Department of Veterans Affairs, you know why they're there? Because they care about veterans. Don't let them do this deep state bureaucratic bullshit. Those doctors can make more money elsewhere. Those mental health care providers are there because they want to talk to veterans. They're specially trained to do so. The people who handle all those VA homeless stuff, the people who handle the crisis action line, they're there because they care about veterans. Okay? But here's the thing. That doesn't make them MAGA. And it certainly doesn't matter if they are, because they are seeing veterans healthcare and veterans programs be torn apart. So let's talk about those four clinics. Fredericksburg VA clinic today had a pipe burst that flooded the main 2 floors of the clinic. They still don't have a pharmacy that's operating because they never got the kits and the phone lines to work because Doug cut off the contract before the clinic opened. So he's going to tell you that's a fully operating clinic. That is not a fully operating clinic. By the way, they don't even have 2/3 of the employees because all they had, there used to be a small clinic in Fredericksburg. Those employees have moved over to the new one. But another third or more of the employees you're supposed to have were caught in the hiring freeze. So Doug wants, and his people, and we're watching, I hope they're watching, you want us to believe you've opened 4 fully functioning clinics. That's not true. Those are lies. And and if you look at that Facebook post, you should go to the Facebook post and look at the actual reports from veterans who work for VA because they're pissed and they're actually answering their own department's Facebook post. The one in Colorado is the same boat. It's not fully functional. It's less than half open. They're all ghost towns because veterans aren't using them. So they want to make us believe they've opened these clinics successfully. They're not open, okay? They actually have to drive the drugs. So if they've got a regular pharmaceutical, like a pickup, the drugs have to be couried up from Richmond, Virginia. It's an 1.5-hour drive up one of the busiest highways in America. Okay. Most employees are commuting from Richmond to open the Fredericksburg clinic. It's not open, but they're not going to tell you that part because Doug lies. But I'll tell you what, man, Secretary Collins, we're watching. You know, we're happy to hold you to your feet to the fire of the truth because your mission is to take care of veterans. That's your mission. Not smear people. But here's the great news, and this is where we got great news. So if you didn't see it already, I think we did a quick hit on it. This week, Judge William Alsup of the Northern District of California, who's based in San Francisco, he slammed these guys. He has ordered them to rehire all tens of thousands of probationary employees who were fired by Donald Trump. Incredible what he said. He said the mass firings they used was a sham strategy by the government's Human Resources Office to sidestep legal requirements for federal workforce. He ordered not just a temporary restraining order on this, he literally ordered a full order to restore them immediately back to work. He said what happened was immediately rehiring, and he covers 6 different agencies, and that's I hope I have the notes here. Oh yeah, I do. He's going to cover defense, treasury, energy, interior, agriculture, and Department of Veterans Affairs, which is we were involved in. Our sister organization was involved in the lawsuit along with the federal AFGE union because they fired them. And if you guys don't understand the background on this, I'll just do a quick explanation. The explanation is this. What they did, OPM sent out emails, all the departments saying, we want you to get rid of your probationary employees. And they sent a template email out for the agencies to use. And that template said, because the way a probationary employee works, you have to get positive reviews during your probationary period to stay at full employment. So they decided that the way they could fire the probationary employees is to say they did not perform well. They underperformed. They're fired for performance issues. Problem is, none of them were. All these employees had positive reviews. It was just an excuse and a lie. So here's where it breaks the law. One, OPM does not have the power to fire employees directly. That's federal statute. Each department manages their own employees. And what made Alsip really angry during the actual court hearing was that he actually ordered the head of OPM to come to his hearing on Thursday and testify, and they refused. And they even pulled, the government lawyer actually even pulled the sworn statement the head of OPM did because it was full of lies. They didn't want it. They didn't want it on the record. And so the judge was pissed. I mean, he said when they didn't bring the guy in he said, you will not bring the people in here to be cross-examined. You're afraid to do so because you know cross-exam would reveal the truth, the judge said to a DOJ attorney. I tend to doubt you're telling me the truth. I'm tired of seeing you stonewall on trying to get at the truth. So the federal judge, I'm so sorry to see that post, Terry. The federal judge told DOJ's lawyers they were lying in court. And he reinstated an approximately 30,000 illegally fired. And here's the kicker. He said, look, you're allowed to fire employees. You're allowed to do a reduction in force, but you got to follow the law. And see, that's not what they're trying to do. What Doge wants to do is move fast, get rid of them fast, like Elon did at Twitter. And folks, that ain't the way it works, okay? And the judge was having none of it. And so that's a huge win for us. And I'm thrilled to see it. I hope you're happy to see it too. This is amazing. So that's the really goodness. So on the VA side, we've had some pretty good news this week. I mean, you see these protests and so many. I love seeing your comments, and I'm watching the comments. So say hi. And by the way, I should say up now, if you got a question, by the way, throw questions in here. JJ will grab them for me later if you want to ask any questions. I'm looking on the big screen in front of my and behind my camera. But on the VA side, the veteran side, we've had some pretty good news. I mean, it's not all good, but listening to our VA employees tell us what's going on and being able to make a difference, that's up to you all. It's all the people who joined my VoteVets and other veterans groups. But those protests really made a difference today. I just think there's an energy, and I'm talking to several people across the country feel the same way. But we had a big victory in court this week. Now, obviously every victory in court comes with the sidebar. They're gonna go and they're gonna turn around and probably appeal it or something like that. But let's savor a win when we get them, right? There's nothing wrong with savoring a win when we get them. So we're going to savor that one. And now let's turn to DOD. Now, I'm going to frame this video for you before we do. The Department of Defense has an entire press corps dedicated to it. This is the largest department of the United States government. Excuse me. They have their own press area. The press in the Pentagon actually have their own, many of them, not all of them. Many got kicked out. Now Fox News and others are in there. They gave press space to Breitbart. Having said that, they actually have a press space and a press room inside the Pentagon, just like they do at the White House. This is a dedicated bunch of military and reporters and combat journalists who focus on DOD. They know their stuff. The Department of Defense, since Donald Trump took office, has not held a single press conference. None. Not the military, not the press secretary, not the Secretary of Defense. They have done nothing, okay? They have done nothing for veterans in that thing. And I see your question, and I'll pull some paperwork up, Drew, to talk about that later. And Maverick, JJ, maybe you could grab that form. There are some talking points that we did, and I'd love to look at those later. about the CR. So having said that, they haven't done a press conference in any way, but this is what they decided to do instead. Check out this thing. Watch this video. It's incredible. This is, by the way, on the official rapid response tweet feed of the United States Department of Defense, your Department of Defense that your tax dollars pay for. Watch this video.
Welcome to the third installment of the Department of Defense's weekly situation report, or SITREP. This week, the Department of Defense wasted no time getting our military back to its core mission. Secretary Hegseth ordered a department-wide review of existing standards set by U.S. military branches pertaining to physical fitness, body composition, and grooming. Our troops will look sharp, not sloppy, and the DoD will see quality, not quotas. The Pentagon also announced that we're eliminating woke climate change programs and initiatives inconsistent with our core warfighting mission. Ukraine aid and intelligence sharing was reactivated in response to Zelensky's acceptance of a 30-day ceasefire. The President and the Secretary of Defense have been very, very clear. The U.S. wants to see peace in Ukraine. The killing must stop. Army Chief of Staff General George ordered a review of all general officer memorandums of reprimands that were issued to soldiers who refused to comply with the previous administration's COVID vaccine mandate. And last, Secretary Hegseth made OPM's 5 bullet points email assignment a weekly task for Pentagon civilians. Woke is out at the Department of Defense, and accountability and standards are in. Thank you for watching, America. God bless you all, and God bless this great country that we call home. Take care.
I get like a migraine right here. Okay. So I want you to think about that minute. That was a minute and 5-10 seconds. That was all the things that in Sean Parnell's opinion, all the things that Sean Parnell he did this week. in his opinion, right? That's all the things that Sean Parnell and the Department of Defense did this week. Okay, the United States military government, the United States military, the largest military, over 1 million soldiers and 2 million total, families deployed across the world, everywhere. That is all the things they did. They got rid of wokeism. They got rid of, literally, we have troops deployed right now overseas fighting. They're still in Syria, for God's sake. They're still in Iraq. But that's what Parnell's focused on. But I want to focus on one. So if you saw briefly in that video, there was a brief clip of Pete Hegseth with troops. That video was from Guantanamo Bay. This last week, Hegseth made his way to Gitmo to inspect it. If you guys know what's going on, President Trump ordered to set up a camp in Gitmo for 30,000 migrants. Right? He wants 30,000 migrants held there. They built an entire camp. But here's the punchline, you guys. The punchline is it's empty. That right after Hegseth visited, the last 40 remaining detainees that were there were removed. Right now, it's empty. DOD doesn't tell you that in their big weekly update because it's pretty significant if you ask me. And here's what happened. They abruptly they flew them all out Tuesday, moved them to Louisiana. It's the last group. You see that number? 290 immigrants is all Guantanamo Bay ever held. They had a group of some Venezuelans and they had a small group of others. They had Marines deploy to build a tent city that would hold 30,000 that ICE rejected because the tents were inhumane and did not meet standards and international standards of safety and comfort and for anyone. Immigrants or otherwise. I mean, they put them on a concrete. If you've ever been in a tent on concrete, it's hot, okay? But believe it or not, they built a tent city that never saw a single immigrant. They sent several thousand troops down there. The total cost of this entire fiasco of your tax dollars was $16 million, plus photo ops for Kristi Noem, plus the photo op for Pete Hegseth, who visited when there's a good chance there weren't actually any migrants there. Okay? So if you wonder why they're not having any press conferences at the Department of Defense and Sean Parnell's doing videos, thanks, troops, you're the best. instead of actually talking to the media, because he doesn't want them to ask questions like, why the F did you spend $60 million to build an immigration camp that now currently holds 0? And by the way, that $60 million doesn't cost, I don't think that includes the plane flights, the military flights. But they did, they got the video. They did get the video. That's what's going on. But wait, there's more as well. So Pete Hegseth, you saw their priorities in that video is remaking the military, getting rid of woke. The Secretary of Defense himself, anybody who served, the Secretary of Defense put out a memo talking about physical fitness standards this week. The Secretary of Defense, if you know the military, that's not his job. That's the services jobs. But he did that. But this is another one that's really scary. So you guys may recall that we made a big deal when he fired CQ Brown, Admiral Franchetti, and the Air Force deputy. They also fired all 3 of the service branch judge advocate generals, the JAGs. They call them the TJAG, the JAG, in the military terminology. And they fired all 3 of them and are still replacing them. This week, it was announced that Pete Hegseth was actually hiring his own personal Sean Perlator. You may know the name Perlator because he was the lawyer for the war criminals that got pardons underneath Trump. Perlator has always had a problem with JAGs. They actually commissioned a civilian into the Navy JAG Corps, which apparently you can do, a direct commission. And now he is Pete Hegseth's personal JAG, while maintaining his day job because it's a reserve job. So they're going to make a private attorney named Parlator the JAG that works for the Secretary of Defense, as well as his personal attorney on the outside world, helping free war criminals. And there, in this story from The Guardian that came out this week, it's showing that Hegseth is trying to do, with Parlator's help, to do a wholesale re-examining and overhaul of the Judge Advocate General Corps. The trade employees have implications across, because as you know, Hegseth has complained for years about the rules of war and all the rules we use, the UCMJ limiting those who go to the ROE, rules of engagement we use in combat, saying that the JAGs and the lawyers, in the Pentagon were making it impossible for our troops to fight their battles. They haven't nominated these new JAGs yet, but remaking the JAG Corps is apparently a huge priority for Hegseth. Again, he hired his own personal attorney, the attorney who defended Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher on war crimes charges. But the overall JAG Corps comes just at the same time, and what they're talking about doing is retraining military lawyers so they provide more expansive legal advice to commanders to pursue more aggressive tactics and take a more lenient approach in charging soldiers with battlefield crimes. They're literally going to remake the military justice, the lawyers, lenient for war crimes, which is shocking. And if you think about the values of how we serve, the values of what we do, and the reason we raise our right hand to serve, they want those values to be a little bit looser. It's a little bit looser. The complaints that have been JAGs have been rules engagement. The complaints about rules engagement for years have been going on for years. Hell, soldiers, we all complain about them too. But the bottom line is they have to positively identify a target as an enemy combatant before opening fire. And those are the kind of things we have to do. You have to have a weapon before we kill them. This is going to only lead to more civilian deaths. It's going to lead to the opportunity for war crimes to occur. And look, the reason we don't do those things, folks, is simple. Because if we don't do them, we don't. Our enemy doesn't have free reign to do them as well. Look, we're not talking ISIS. We're talking about Russia. We're talking about other countries. We uphold, like it or not, we uphold the rules of war because we expect it for our enemies to do the same thing. And some do, some don't, but that's what we are. That's who we are. We're not the bad guys. But we're going to get all new lawyers. Another shocking story came out this week that we really wanted to highlight too. They've decided, apparently, Task of Purpose, if you don't know Task of Purpose, great little news sites, focuses the military. They have grown greatly. They caught this story. Arlington Cemetery has been, this is shocking, dropping portions of the website have to do with anything with history of veterans of color and others in Arlington. In recent weeks, the cemetery's public website has scrubbed dozens of pages on grave sites and educational materials that include histories of prominent Black, Hispanic, and female service members buried in the cemetery, along with educational material on the dozens of Medal of Honor recipients and maps of prominent grave sites of Marine Corps vets or services. Cemetery officials have confirmed that the pages were unpublished to meet recent orders by Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth targeting race and gender-related language and policies in the military. Gone from public view now. If you go to the website for Arlington, which is, yes, Chuck, I agree, this is bullshit. Gone from public view are links to lists of dozens of notable graves at Arlington of women and Black Hispanic service members. About a dozen notable graves have been removed. Here's the punchline, you guys. You're going to love this part. A dozen other notable graves lists remain highlighted on the website, including lists of, list of politicians, athletes, and even foreign nationals are still on there. So all the politicians and famous athletes are still in there, but the first Medal of Honor winner, Black Medal of Honor winner, women who served in combat, they've been erased from the website for, and by the way, Arlington, for perspective for Arlington, Arlington has hundreds of acres that watch over 400,000 graves of U.S. service members dating back to the Civil War, including 2 presidents are buried there, John Kennedy, and more than 400 Medal of Honor recipients are buried in Arlington National Cemetery. And of course, you know the history. Arlington Manor was actually Robert E. Lee's estate. The U.S. Army at the time decided to take over his estate and make it a cemetery, kind of an FU, and it grew. And now it's the official white. And if you've ever been to Arlington National Cemetery, it is I was in the Army for 22 years, and there's not a time I visit Arlington that I'm not overwhelmed by what I find and the conversations and the history there. And now they're erasing that history. It's just kind of shocking, you guys. You know, dozens of in addition to that with Guan, there were academic lesson plans that were built for classroom work for kids, like civics class. They had walking tours for kids, like, because if you've ever been to DC for 5 minutes, especially the spring and the summer, guess what happens? Hundreds of thousands of school children come to DC and they do walking tours in the monuments. They do walking tours of Arlington, especially, and their educational materials and lesson plans for that, they've been removed. It's why you would remove a Medal of Honor recipients. It's insane. And this is about DEI. DEI hasn't even been a thing. It's only been around, the concept around for 5 years. These guys are erasing history all the fuck back to World War I, okay, and the Civil War. That's some shocking news. And all because directly related to Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump wanted to erase DEI. And what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen, is erasing anyone who's not white and male. That's just it. There's no way around that. And I would go, that whole story is quite long. I recommend you go to Task and Purpose and read the story. They have some this is an in-depth reporting for Task and Purpose. But we've talked about the Puerto Rican, the Buccaneers who served. They've removed their history from the Arlington website. These are Americans. These are Puerto Ricans who served in combat. Their history, this proud unit is got a monument there. It's been removed because of DEI. It's kind of sick, y'all. And I agree, though. I see a lot of your comments. It is just sick now. Okay. Now this is a little bit more obscure, but I did want to talk about we're getting into the deep stuff now, you guys. We're going to the deep cuts now. Deep cut number 1, they deleted the Office of Net Assessment. Now, what the hell is that, Fred? And why do we give it to him? It's actually quite interesting. The Office of Net Assessment has been around for 50 years, and their job was to go in and actually work on developing mission plans and contingencies for things that nobody else in the building was thinking. They're literally an internal think tank. And for most of their history, they were run by one famous guy, a guy named Andy Marshall, who founded it and ran it for like 40 years until he died. Okay. And it's always been something but it's been controversial. It only costs about $10 million a year to run this thing. Okay. That's all it is. And it's in the Pentagon. It's run, they just deleted it. In a short note posted on Thursday on the Pentagon, of course, on the internet, spokesman Sean Pennell suggested the office would be restructured and then reopened with a new focus on the country's most pressing national security challenges. He did not explain how the office's new mission would differ from his previous approach, but they did announce they're firing all of the people and moving them into more mission-critical positions within the Pentagon. But if history's any guide, they're firing them. They're not sure. They'll offer them some job that has nothing to do with their skill set. They'll quit and then claim that they retired or resigned, which is a lie. But it's kind of shocking for those of us, especially people, we have a lot of folks here at VoteVets, like my friend Alexander Vindman, for example, who are strategists, national security strategists. These are the people who are looking at China. These are the guys who developed the doctrine to fight China someday. These are the people who are thinking around the corners. Why would you fire those guys? Why would you fire the people whose job was to prepare us for the next war? I don't know. I just don't. So That was now. Here's a really weird story that does affect, because as you know, we do care about military families as well. We focus on the well-being of military families. You know, a few weeks ago, you saw us report that when Pete Hegseth visited Germany, he was heckled by military family members on base. Okay. Well, on you're not going to believe this. On Tuesday, I think it was on Wednesday this week. On Wednesday, DODEA is the Department of Defense Education Administration agency. That's DODEA is the school system. That's your local school system for all of the overseas schools in the Pacific, in Europe, and everywhere. They handle all the military kids who are stationed overseas, Korea, wherever you are, Japan, Guam, Okinawa. Those are the schools that your kids go to. Believe it or not, Wednesday they announced that all families, that no athletic events would be occurring, that they're canceling all athletic events and all travel, because obviously bases are strewn all over the place. Each one has a high school. You have to travel to play other teams. You have to take a bus or even sometimes a plane. They actually canceled all of their sports because of the funding freezes announced by Donald J. Trump and his executive order. This is after, you know, he said he wanted all government funding reviewed. Defense Department ordered civilian employees to cancel all non-exempt official travel, allowing traveling only in direct support of military operations or permanent change of station moves. The DoD memo also capped government travel charge spending limits at $1 for civilians whose duties don't require exempted travel. And we've got reports here at VoteVets of people who are like civilian employees of the government. Because I'll give you a good example. One I experienced, the public affairs officer school, the public affairs school is at Fort Meade, Maryland. So every type of public affairs person, both civilians, enlisted persons, and officers like myself, attend the public affairs training school at Fort Meade, Maryland, to include civilians. We hear reports of people who are like civilians from Germany or Japan who were there for school, their spending card turned on to $1, and they were being forced to use their own credit cards to try and travel home or eat because of this switch being turned off for reasons no one explained. They turned off the credit cards for all government employees in the DoD. It just goes on and on. Now here, of course, here's the punchline. Once again, like they always do with this administration, they turned it back on. They're allowing athletic events to resume this weekend. They did reverse some of the postponements. They said that organizations can ask for approval as long as it's not like a really long trip. For those who understand, the agency operates 161 schools in 11 foreign countries and 7 U.S. states, Guam and Puerto Rico. Of course, Hawaii is one of those states. It is. This is the way it goes. This is what we keep seeing back and forth. We meant it. We did, and it goes back to that first video we saw with Collins, or saying, "Oh no, that's not true. That's not true at all." Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for, JJ. Thank you. That's not true, because the truth is that we didn't fire those people that we said we fired. The Facebook post you saw from the woman crying about losing her job on the crisis action line was fake. They keep changing their mind. 2 weeks ago, Doug Collins was shaking a stack of paper where they cut 2 billion contracts on how to do a PowerPoint. There's a tutorial on that. They discovered the next day they'd actually canceled contracts for cleaning the hospital equipment, for tuning the CAT scans. Okay, so they had to bring them all back again. And then they fired 500 of them after that. Still, again and again, it's ready, fire, aim. And that's why they're going to fire 83,000 employees. Ready? We're firing 83,000 of you. Okay, we don't know what they're going to be yet, but don't worry, we're going to figure that out. By the way, I got a tip today from a union. The rumor, AFGE is hearing that it's not actually going to be 15% of the workforce, 83,000. The union's hearing it's going to be 120,000 employees they're going to fire, 25% of the workforce. That the number in the memo they put out was actually sort of just a fake one. Those are the kind of things being told around VA. And if Doug accuses me of spreading rumors, yes, I am. Because that's the truth 90% of the time. Anyway, those are all the stories. Now, I loved, Jay, do you want me to answer some questions? I can answer some questions. If you got, I know we had a couple of questions. Specifically, Drew, I saw your question about what is in the CR that I heard. I think it just passed. I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me. It may... Yeah, thank you very much, Drew. I think I'm getting text messages saying it did pass. So you guys forgive me. Live TV, folks. This is how it goes. I don't know if it's passed or not. We'll find out. But yes, there's some really nasty stuff in that that CR for veterans. Specifically, we'll start from the top. You can bring it up on screen, JJ, if you like. I'm going to show. We do have talking points that we did this week on the CR, so I'm happy to bring those up. I'm gonna just kind of go through it a little bit. Specifically, God, JJ, guys, if you guys don't know JJ Jorgensen, he runs this whole thing. I'm just the pretty face, so send JJ a thank you. He's the guy that makes me look like not an idiot. Number one, the PACT Act. HR 1968 cut $22.8 billion in funding for the cost of war toxic exposure funds. Now, if you guys understand what that is, that's the fund that funds the PACT Act changes. The Republicans have been trying to underfund it for years. This CR zeroes that out. So while they're saying they're helping veterans, they actually zeroed out the fund that pays for all the PACT Act healthcare treatment, new employees, all the things in there. For VHA and the VA, they fail to specify any funding levels for many programs within VHA, such as the homelessness assistance grants, mental health care, rural health, opioid substance abuse program, and some oncology, and really importantly for a lot of us, caregiver support. So there's actually no specified funding, which leaves it open for people like Donald Trump. And see, this is why the Democrats are so angry about this, just so you guys understand. What they mean when there's no specific fund level, it means they can let Elon do whatever the fuck he wants. Okay, that's the goal. A lot of this was to give Elon running room to just cut whatever he wanted. And so when they don't specify a funding level, then they're not breaking the law and they cut it all. Does that make sense? So you're talking key programs like homelessness. So look, if you don't think homelessness isn't going to go up because of the CR, I got news for you. It is. Caregivers, these are the people who take care of our most wounded veterans, the guys who are in wheelchairs, the guys who need somebody to take care of them. Those programs will get cut. Over the national, now all the cuts aren't just in VA. Over the National Institutes of Health, $280 million. That's going to affect cancer research, Alzheimer's, ALS. These are all diseases that were being researched with veterans. We got a report this week already that a cancer study that was occurring at a VA hospital was, as the veterans were supposed to start the trials, were all canceled because the funding was cut by the National Institutes of Health. That's a serious problem for veterans. Social Security Administration, 7.7 million veterans receive Social Security benefits. And the HR 1968 allows Musk to fire, they're talking about firing 7,000 at least over there, if not 22,000 employees of Social Security. Well, that means longer wait times. That means more time. We also reported this week, they plan, the Doge guys want to get rid of the phone number, the actual phone system for the Social Security Administration. These are elderly people, okay? The majority of people using Social Security are elderly, and they use the phone. They dial a phone. And Doge wants to get rid of the phone and force them to use websites or go in person to a regional office of the Social Security Administration, which they're going to unman or close to force people to get their benefits. Okay? There's no reason. This thing also has cut rent subsidies, homeless response grants for low-income working Americans. This is going to impact tens of thousands of veterans who rely on HUD grants to get off the streets. We call them HUD VASH. It's a partnership between the Housing and Urban Development and VA. They're going to cut those too. Finally, SBA is in there. SBA loses quite a bit of money. So even our veterans who are successful, who are having businesses and are doing, they're cutting benefits for them. They're cutting programs to support our SBA. And then there's also a cut for rural development broadband. 1 in 4 veterans are rural, y'all. I don't know what to tell you, okay? 4.6 million live in rural areas, and now they're cutting off those programs. So we kind of pulled all this out to kind of show you all the terrible things that are in there in the CR, that why so many people are fighting. You see so many of our VoteVets supported candidates fighting. Ruben Gallego has been tearing it up. I don't know if you could pull that video we have of Ruben. I don't mean to put you on the spot, JJ. I do this to him in the middle of the show. So JJ, find that video, that obscure video. But we got Ruben Gallego. We've got quite a few of our veterans our candidates have really come out strong, hitting it hard, saying this is unacceptable. And look, we understand the arguments. I think, say what you will about Chuck Schumer. He's saying, look, a government shutdown will be much worse. At what point do we draw the line? At what point do we stop Elon Musk and Trump from running around breaking the government? At what point do we say no and make them own it? The Republicans have enough votes to run this themselves. Well, then run it. Go for it. But if you want Democratic support, the position that we believe is if you want Democratic support to pass your continuing resolution, then you need to freaking negotiate with them. You don't dictate to your opposing party that it's up to them to pass a bill they have no input on. The Republicans have allowed not a single amendment to these bills. They want a clean CR. And when they say clean CR, that means no amendments from anybody, just Republicans. So enough's enough. Okay, let's show the Ruben video. Ruben did a great job of this. Thanks. God, JJ, you're good.
As a veteran,
Got it.
an Iraq veteran, a proud Marine, I worry because what is about to happen with these cuts will cause veterans to die. There's just no other denying that. Elon Musk's decisions and Donald Trump's decisions to arbitrarily cut veterans from their jobs is going to increase depression. It's going to increase potentially suicides. We know what's going to happen if you cut VA services, not just the workers, but the services. Because I saw it happen when I first got back from the war. When we first got back in 2005, it was nearly impossible for us to find room at the VA. We couldn't find the therapist to help us. I lost many of the guys I served with to suicide. Some are still luckily alive, but are still struggling with alcoholism, have seen their times in jail. And some that have succeeded have found service and a reason to live and fight because they went and worked for a mission-oriented job, working for the federal government. And for someone like Elon Musk and a bunch of 20-year-old brats who have zero understanding of what sacrifice for country means, to just go and tell these men and women one more time that the country is throwing you aside, we don't need you. Don't worry about collecting another paycheck. Don't worry about having health insurance at the end of the year. Don't worry about how you're going to pay rent. You've sacrificed your mind, your body, your youth for this country. You came and worked for this country. And because this dude wants billions and billions of dollars, we're going to cut these men and women off. And it doesn't have to be that way. We can find efficiencies while still making sure we're saving the lives of veterans. We can find savings while at the same time making sure veterans have fulfilling and rich careers in serving their country. And we don't have to be assholes about it and firing them overnight just so we can find savings that it's not going to end up back in the VA. And for someone to say, oh, this is going to save $100 million, what was it, $180 million? That's not going to be a savings because it's going to cost even more because it's going to take longer to fix the problems. The longer a man or woman, a veteran, goes without PTSD treatment because they can't find the therapist, means it's going to take longer for them to get the help they need, that they're going to actually be able to go back and be functional and be a good member of society and work. The longer someone has to put off a surgery because you can't find the nurses or the doctors, it means that surgery is going to be more complicated, potentially more dangerous, and at the end, more expensive. And it doesn't have to be this way. One of the worst feelings you have when I got back from the war, me and my guys, we were reservists, and our end date was done, and they stopped paying us. No one offered us jobs. Some of us were homeless. And the worst feeling that we had was that everything we had just sacrificed for the government, for the country, in some of the hardest combat of the war, they just threw us aside because we weren't convenient anymore. We couldn't fit the bottom line of the DOD. They couldn't find one more month to house us on base. They couldn't give us one more paycheck. It was the worst feeling that you could ever have as a veteran. And we're doing that right now to thousands of veterans, both at the VA, people that are going to the services, and veterans that have been working across this country, dedicating their time away from family and dedicating just their whole soul and life to this country. And we have just said, we don't want you anymore. You are no longer convenient for us. Go away. That's what Donald Trump is doing. That's what Elon Musk is doing. And they're only doing it so they could give their buddies a tax cut. That is shameful. And it's a sin against this country that we're allowing that to happen.
Don't have much to add to that. Couldn't believe it. And by the way, believe Ruben. Ruben was a listed man in Iraq. He wasn't an officer. I've had the honor to know Ruben for several years now. And when he said some of us were homeless, he's a lot closer to that than you think he is. Okay. If I remember correctly, Ruben was couch surfing at one point. Hey, Jared, it's so good to see Jared Christian here. Ruben, if I remember correctly, Ruben himself ended up couch surfing, which is essentially homeless at one point in his life when he was going to college after getting out. This is serious business. And when you cut homelessness grants, Homelessness is going to go up for veterans. So we've been fighting tooth and nail, something that constantly Republicans hound us about, constantly talk about the poor home. How many times have you guys heard somebody on the MAGA side say we should be giving money to Ukraine when we have homeless veterans on our streets? And those fuckers cut the actual programs that support homeless veterans. Okay? So Elon can get more money. The fucking fake tears is so frustrating for so many. I know you guys are part of that. Now, I'm told by my awesome, smart producer that we have a couple more questions. Hit me up there. You got comments you want to show me, JJ? Who else has some questions? It's a great question. No, they can't. and I'll tell you why, Laura. I really don't want them to. I would really rather our military continue to do their duty. I'd really rather our military follows their orders as long as they're legal. Okay, as long as there's legal orders, they should follow. Now and there, we'll probably see some people resign or protest. We certainly did see that under Biden after Afghanistan. Stuart Schiller, I think he actually works at the DoD now, for God's sake. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if we do see some folks resign. Could you leave that up, JJ? So they can probably retire and protest or resign and protest. But we would really prefer they don't stand up and protest. I will definitely see families, but in the end, I would really like to see our service members continue their professionalism as much as they can and be aware of what is a legal order, what's not a legal order. But I don't think we really do want our military to be more politicized than it already is. But I do believe we're going to see some resignations, some retirements that are essentially in protest, and we'll probably start hearing from those folks. And I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. You don't just get out of the military in a day. It doesn't work that way. Your enlistment has to come up, or you have to retire. That can take 3, 4, or 5 months. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if the fall by this summer, especially as the election starts gearing up for the midterms and others. I wouldn't be at all surprised we start seeing some military folks standing up who maybe just retired. Thanks for that question, Laura. What else you got, JJ? Look, I'm not a budget guy. I'm not a numbers guy, Terry. I wish I was. I'm kind of dumb. I do this because I can't do math. But the arguments are this. The Democrats are saying a simple thing, including, and I've never seen, I was just reading an article before we went live. I've only been in politics for 5 years, y'all. If you guys know, I only came into politics during the 2020 election, but I was a veterans advocate in the Hill for 10 years before that. I have never seen House Democrats so openly criticizing and frankly attacking their Senate counterparts. Mr. Schumer is taking it hard. I mean, Nancy Pelosi put out a statement saying it was unacceptable to pass this CR. Schumer's reasoning apparently is that a shutdown gives Trump more free reign. A shutdown will give Elon more free reign. And of course, Democrats politically are scared they're going to get blamed. But the polls come out showing that 53% of Americans blame either Donald Trump or the Republicans and not the Democrats. Only 35% of Americans blame Democrats for shutdown. No, this is the Republicans' power to pass this bill. They have not passed a budget ever. They've had power for over 2 years and they've never passed. They're literally operating, and this is not even a joke when they say it. I think one of the Republicans said, I think Massey said it. We're literally operating on Nancy Pelosi's budget. That's true. That's not just hype. That's not hype. That's actually true. This budget, when you have a continuing resolution over and over, it's the same budget it was last year. We're talking 3 years. These incompetent boobs can't do the normal budget process that they're hired to do that's in the United States Constitution. So they cry about being strictly constitutionalists, and these idiots can't do a budget. So they want to continue resolution. But this one's really nefarious because it zeroes out things like the PACT Act. And you did see correctly. I saw the comment earlier. Did I see correctly that PACT Act fund? Yes, they put a zero, which should have been $22.8 billion against the Toxic Exposure Fund. They zeroed it out. And they're doing, and then their power to act like they didn't. But it's a fact. The line that says replace $22.8 billion with zero. What does that mean for VA care? What does that mean? I don't know. 1.1 or 1.2 million veterans have joined VA, be it benefits, be it healthcare. 780,000 have gotten cancer screenings because of the PACT Act. They've hired at least 61,000 employees been hired because of the new influx of veterans. Folks, there's only about 15 million living veterans, for God's sake. They added 1.1 million of them in just 2 years. That's a shit ton of veterans who joined the VA. We need people to support them. So when they talk about cutting 83,000 employees, yes, they're cutting veterans care. See, they're playing a game, y'all. They're playing a word game. See, Doug's saying, oh, it won't affect healthcare because we're going to privatize it. It won't affect your benefits because we'll just send you checks still, but you won't be able to get hold of somebody when that check bounces or it never shows up. Look, I'm not lying to you. I fully expect. I've never missed a VA payment or a Army retirement check, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if it doesn't show up one of these days. Who am I going to call? We're already getting reports here at VoteVets of veterans saying it's harder and harder to get hold of their local hospital because there's less people working the phones. It's just a matter of time. It was just a matter of time. So yes, it is true. You heard right, Anna. The effing GOP did not fund the PACT Act Toxic Exposure Fund. What else we got, JJ? Oh, it's a great question, Mick. So I organized. I got called by my local county Democrats. If you're familiar with Mobilize, Mobilize is a website that the Democrats have on their website that we use Mobilize here for a lot of organizations that you can find protests and stuff. I know if you're looking for good ones, I know the AFGE is organizing a bunch. The gentleman who represents the American Federation of Government Employees, the union, he grabbed me at this protest. He's a veteran, as a matter of fact. He said they're doing one in St. Louis, I think, under the Arch. I mean, so maybe the local union, but it's very grassroots right now. So it's a lot of it's on social media. We'll do our best to participate. This is one of the first ones we participated at VoteVets, the one I led in St. Louis at Mobilize. Thank you so much, JJ. See, you see this? You see this, you guys? This is what he does. This is what he makes. I'm just sitting here doing my thing, and Jay just got it. So you go to mobilize.us, of course, and you'll find some stuff, and we've got some stuff coming. But that's a great place to start if you're looking for that. It's mobilize.us. Thank you, JJ. That's why you're so good at this. What else we got, brother? Is that it? Oh man, he's good. Oh, here we go. Done. Here we go. All right, man. This is great. Look, I see your guys. So many questions. Yeah, Drew Turner. This is how you get a bonus army. It was interesting today, guys. I'll tell the story. I think I may have mentioned earlier in the broadcast. We did have a gentleman just come out mad, and luckily there was that big, thick iron fence. He was screaming at some of our demonstrators, and we were friendly people. We weren't. I mean, we were there like, go VA, we love you. It was like huggy shit, right? Okay, a little bit of hate for Trump and Donald, but that's it. This guy went off. Democrat rats. You don't know. You never served. What do you? The guy's like, I'm here to support you. And I finally weighed in the middle of an interview with the local newspaper saying, dude, we're here to support the people in that building that you're walking into to get health care from. Okay? That's what we're here for. We want you to get the health care. And the guy yelled in my face saying, well, you tell me you're an Army vet. What did Biden do for you? He passed the effing PACT Act, dude. 1.1 million of your brothers and sisters got automatic. I'll tell you a story, you guys, and I'll let you go. So we're almost at an hour. God damn, that was fast. I had never, I'll just tell you my story. I got 50% disability when I got in the Army. My knees were bad. My shoulder got ripped, that kind of stuff. I had a foot rebuilt when I stepped in a hole in Iraq, but I never filed for PTSD. I never filed for my back. It didn't get approved. It's gotten much worse, and a couple other issues near here and there. One of my soldiers from Desert Storm, one of my crew chiefs from Desert Storm called me after the PACT Act was filed last year, and there was a deadline. If you guys remember, there was a deadline. You could actually, if you file by the deadline, they would give you your PACT your VA benefits back all the way to the passage of the bill. He filed. He had cancer. He had a form of cancer. He had one of the cancers that was covered by the PACT Act toxic exposure. Now, we in Desert Storm, let me tell you, folks, we were exposed to some toxic stuff. The burning oil wells, the fire pits we built along the way to burn all our stuff. We burned all of our chemical suits when we got out. I mean, we saw a lot of toxic stuff, hence Gulf War syndrome. But his cancer was covered. He got 100% disability, and he got like $75,000 in back pay from the day he got sick, okay, because of the PACT Act. That's what the Democrats passed under President Biden. And that's what they implemented beautifully when nobody thought it could be done. So if you talk to somebody, if you got a veteran, if you ever hear that one, if they get in your face like that and they say, oh, Biden didn't do nothing for us. Like, let me tell you about the PACT Act, my friend. The largest expansion of veterans health care since Vietnam that provides multiple illnesses, automatic approval for disability from the United States government for your service. a huge expansion, included 61,000 new employees, that included $28 billion a year. All that came from the Democrats. And this continuing resolution, the Republicans made the payment for that zero. There you go. This is great. I really appreciate you guys. This is great. We're right at an hour. A lot of you showed up. I appreciate you. I know it's a little bit different. We usually do. We'll bring guests next week. Two big things. There's several things we announced. The biggest thing I'm really proud of we announced this week, if you go to our YouTube channel or any of our social media channels, I did a video actually. We announced $1 million investment in candidate recruiting across the country for veterans and national security experts. What's a veteran? Hey, any one of us, right? Me, Andy, others. What's a national security expert? Like people like Andy Kim, who served in the government, Abigail Spanberger, who worked with the CIA, Mikey Sherrill. Well, Mike Sherrill was a pilot, but those kind of folks too. And we're expanding a multi-year effort, not just for this term. Matter of fact, it's a multi-year effort, 3, 4, 5 years going forward, where our goal is to invest in reaching out to people, encouraging them to run for office, not just Congress. We love people to run for local office. We have an emerging leader program here at VoteVets. City council members, mayors. When we did our bus tour last fall, I met several mayors who were VoteVets candidates. If you know, a lot of our elected officials who are veterans started off locally. For example, Ruben Gallego. You did it. God damn, you're good. Yeah, Ruben Gallego, for example. It's good timing, though, JJ. Ruben Gallego started off as a local representative. Then he ended up being state, Congress, and then Senate. That's called the ladder. He went up the ladder, and we love that. So we are going to recruit $1 million effort to recruit. We'll be launching it. We're going to be hiring a national organizer just to run that program. So a lot of really guys. There you go. See, look at this. This is from the briefing. This guy's so good. So veteran military, our voter file. We have access to a voter file that contains 10 million names. We use it to send texts to 2.5 million veterans during the last cycle. That's a key tool in recruiting folks to run for office. So you may hear from us saying, "Hey, shouldn't you run for city council?" Maybe you should. Well, the other piece of this, there's another one. Next, there is the scaffolding. We call it scaffolding and launching of new veteran and national. This is where we bring on that seasoned organizer to help reach out to folks. Training. We'll be offering training programs. We'll be offering organizational where you can actually find. There's two things that keep you right from running. Everybody says to me, "Fred, how do I raise money? Where the heck would I find people to help me?" Well, that's what our intent is. We'll be able to help you find folks who can help you raise money, help you find professionals like campaign managers and consultants that you need to run a really effective campaign at any level. So we're really excited about these programs. There's three things. Go check out that video on our website and on our Facebook. The announcements on our website. The YouTube channel has the video. I've taken a lot of your time, folks. We can. Last thing I always tell you, if you want to learn more about who we are and what we do, go to votevets.org. That's votevets.org. One word, all votevets.org. There's 2 buttons there we love. There's the get involved. There's the take action button. Click on that. Get your email into our system so we know where you are. Maybe we can reach out to you when there's a demonstration. We talked about mobilize.us, Mick. Mobilize.us is where a lot of those protests are going. We will, if we've got something going, we'll email you if you're in that area. Our guy Rick Hegdahl will reach out to you. That's take action. And there's that other button, because look, I'm a political guy. I got to do it. That's the donate button. So we'd really love you consider donating some money to the VoteVets to do the work here. Again, that's how we're going to get $1 million to bring veterans and national security experts into the politics. That's how we're going to support candidates like Abigail Spanberger. We gave the largest donation in the history of VoteVets to win the Virginia governor's race. That's what we do. Finally, find us everywhere at VoteVets. They make it really easy. I'm FP Wellman, and then sometimes I'm FP1 official. We're always VoteVets at all those cool places. So make sure you follow us and follow us on social media. I am Fred Wellman, retired Lieutenant Colonel of the United States Army. I'm the host of Online VoteVets. We love having you here. We will be back every Friday at varying times, depending on what's going on in the news. And of course, we'll have breaking news updates. So make sure you turn on your notifications. And we have breaking news. We'll come on here and do a breaking news update for you as things happen. Thank you for everything you do for us. Thanks for being a part of this community. It's so good to see so many of your faces again. I will always be here. And if you need anything at all, keep up the fight. Stay positive. We got this. We are in the fight. We're going to make it happen. You're in there too. Let's keep fighting.